What's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Saturday, February the 1st. We're going to cover Saturday's 9-game slate, go position by position, just talk about the plays that stand out to me the most, looking at the slate the night before. These are my first looks. I'm recording this video on Friday night, so just kind of a quick overview of the slate. I won't have any Patreon content up today. I usually just post my Patreon content Monday through Friday. But I think I'm going to do some updated core plays again. I gave some updated core plays on the last Saturday slate. I will be doing that again today. So if you want to get over to the Patreon, get access to my updated core plays, I will have those posted about an hour or two before lock. I do post NBA content on Patreon Monday through Friday. I'll have my article posted. Obviously, I'll have updated core plays over there. I do also have a Discord chat that you can join. I post a lot of content over on Patreon Monday through Friday, and I will be getting up some updated core plays for this slate. It's the beginning of the month, so these are usually the best times to join. If you've ever wanted to become a Patreon member, I would recommend you sign up at the beginning of the month, just so that way you get the most amount of value out of your money. So you can check out the Patreon link down below. As always, guys, if you do enjoy these videos, I put on YouTube, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button, subscribe as well if you have not yet. You can also click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And also, link down below with my Patreon is my Twitter, so if you want to give me a follow over on Twitter, feel free to do so at DFSbyNoah. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at point guard for Saturday's 9-game slate. At the top, Lebron James, our most expensive option at $10,600. This is a back-to-back for the Lakers. They do play Friday night. As I'm recording this video, that game has not started yet against the Blazers. I did like LeBron quite a bit on Friday night slate. We'll see how he does in his first game back since Kobe's death. First game back at home since Kobe's death as well. I thought there was a little bit of a narrative there for LeBron on Friday night. But I think he's fine to go to today at $10,600. I don't think he's my favorite stud option. I like Trey Young quite a bit. I even think Damian Lillard's a guy you could look to. Kyrie Irving's in a great spot against the Wizards. These are probably the guys I like the most. But since it's a back-to-back, this is obviously something to keep an eye on. I don't think Anthony Davis would sit, but he's been injured recently, so obviously if Anthony Davis were to somehow wind up out, if we get an update Saturday afternoon that Davis is going to be out, then obviously LeBron becomes a better option, but I don't think that's going to happen. So the guy that I like most at point guard is Trey Young, $10,300 on DraftKings. Going over to Yahoo, he's a little bit cheaper than LeBron. He's $6 less, same price as Damian Lillard. I do like Trey Young quite a bit. I think between him and Kyrie Irving, it's very close on who's my favorite guy to pay up for. I think right now I lean Trey Young, but both guys I like a ton. If you can get to Kyrie, I think he's a great play as well. We'll talk more about him in a second. But Trey Young, I have a lot of interest in here. This is a really good spot. Dallas is without Luka Doncic right now, which makes their defense much worse. It's going to be some combination of like Seth Curry, Jalen Brunson, JJ Barea, DeLon Wright, one of those four guys guarding Trey Young, which is easily a winnable matchup for him. We did see JJ Barea wind up starting on Friday night, so I'm assuming that's probably what they do again. So if Steph Curry, or if not Steph Curry, if Trey Young's going to be matched up with JJ Barea, I think that's easily a winnable matchup for him. We'll take a look at Trey Young's numbers this season. I mean, the dude's just playing at such a high level. Made the All-Star team for good. I mean, he should have made the All-Star team. He is an All-Star in my opinion. 35% usage rate this season, averaging nearly 1.5 fantasy points per minute, 42.6% assist percentage. The dude just has massive upside. He's got 70, 80-point upside, 77 DraftKings points in 2 of his last 4 games, 73 DK points. Like, I love Trey Young here. On the road against Dallas might not seem like the best spot, but without Luka, this game is more likely to stay close. Without Luka, that also makes their defense much worse. Definitely like Trey Young is one of the better stud options to pay up for today. And this does feel like another slate where we're going to have some good value. We had a lot of value on Friday night. I think that's going to be the case again on this Saturday slate. So it should be pretty easy to pay up for one of those guys if that's the route you want to go, one of those expensive point guards. I think Lillard you could also look to against the Jazz. I mean, Lillard's just playing at such a high level right now. This is a back-to-back for Portland, but I don't think that really affects Damian Lillard. I think he's going to play his full minutes regardless. So he's a fine option to go to. I think I would prefer Trey Young, though, for just a little bit more. Kyrie Irving, I do have a ton of interest in this spot against the Wizards. I mean, this is just a smash spot. The Wizards, one of the worst defensive teams in the league this season. They're actually dead last in defensive rating. They're playing at an incredibly fast pace. They're 5th in pace. Kyrie should smash here. He's having a big game Friday night against the Bulls. I didn't really have much of him Friday night. I will definitely have exposure to him, though, today. I think this is a great spot for Kyrie. Price tag still only 9,100, which is very reasonable for him. I mean, this is a guy that has very similar numbers to someone like Trey Young, averaging about 1.4 fantasy points per minute, 30+% usage rate. Really like Kyrie Irving that's in this spot, and I think he is also one of the better point guard options to pay up for today. I do prefer him over a guy like Ben Simmons. Definitely prefer Kyrie, especially given his matchup against the Wizards. D'Angelo Russell in a really good matchup against Cleveland. He's very closely priced to Kyrie, so I think I would just rather try and find the salary to get up to Kyrie. But did want to mention Russell. This is a really good matchup against Cleveland, who has been one of the worst defensive teams versus guards this season, versus point guards specifically. I believe they're allowing either the most or the second most fantasy points to point guards on the season. So I did want to mention him. Kemba Walker, a big injury to watch heading into Saturday. He is questionable. If he plays, it's a tough matchup, but he's 7,800, which is a pretty appealing price tag. If he's out, that's obviously going to really change things, and we'll talk about some of the guys that I like if he were to sit. But I do have a little bit of interest in Kemba if he plays. Donovan Mitchell was terrible the other night. I think it was Thursday night against the Nuggets. 35 minutes, only 20 Draftkings points. He's down to 7K today in a great matchup against Portland. Even if you got burned by Donovan Mitchell Thursday night, definitely don't be scared to go back to him. This is such a good spot. The price tag is still very appealing at 7K. Even with like Mike Conley back, I mean, Mitchell, it really hasn't affected him. He's still shown a ton of upside. 46, 51, 40 Draftkings points. I expect Mitchell's pretty popular today, but for good reason. He was going to make the early core, but for now, there's some other guys I like that we'll talk about, but I do have a ton of interest in Donovan Mitchell. Once I post my updated core plays over on Patreon Saturday, I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell makes it into the updated core plays after I take a deeper dive into the slate. I mean, Portland's just been so bad defensively as of late. They are a relatively fast-paced team. They're playing at the 11th fastest pace in the league this season. But other point guards, Brogdon, 6,600, I think is a guy we could look to. He looks solid in that mid-range. Elfrid Payton's out today, which opens up some value that we will talk about. If Kemba winds up out, I think Marcus Smart, even with the price bump up, Marcus Smart would still be a solid option at 6,300. Draymond Green in a game that should be close against the Cavs, and he should play his full minutes. I think he makes a lot of sense at 5,700. Really good spot for Draymond Green. If we're going to get 32, 34 minutes from him, he definitely is in play for me at 5,700. In terms of value, though, Jalen Brunson did not start Friday night. Once we got the news, it was shortly after lock. We got the news at like 7:05 or 7:10 Eastern time that J.J. Barea was going to start ahead of Jalen Brunson. That immediately made me just want to get off of Brunson, and then I swapped all my Brunson exposure over to Barea. You guys probably should have did the same. We were definitely talking about it in the Discord chat on Patreon. Like, as soon as I got that news, I made sure to go tell the people on the Patreon Discord to swap your Brunson exposure to Barea, because with Brunson coming off the bench, I was just a little bit worried about his minutes. Right now, as I'm recording this video, that game is almost over, and I think Brunson's played like 15 minutes off the bench. He's just really hard to trust if he's not starting, and given that Barea started Friday night, I'm assuming Barea starts again. So he's the guy that I prefer to go to. Like, I definitely would rather play DeLon Wright. If I'm going to play someone coming off the bench, it would probably be DeLon Wright, because I think there's a chance he could at least get like 25, close to 30 minutes if he's playing well, and it is a really good matchup. So he's a fine guy to look to. Ish Smith, if Jordan McRae, I think Jordan McRae is still out, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Jordan McRae's still out. So Ish Smith you could look to against Brooklyn. I did like him quite a bit on the last slate. Had a solid game, 29, nearly 30 DK points in 26 minutes. Not nearly as good of a play where he's up to 5K, but still in play for me. If LaMarcus Aldridge remains out, I think Dejounte Murray at 5K also looks pretty appealing. Was finally able to get some good minutes last game, played 30 minutes, had 32 DK points. He's been a productive player this season when given the minutes. It's just the minutes are always inconsistent. That's just what makes him risky. But in tournaments, I like to take that risk, roster a guy that has the upside. So I do have some interest in him. But I want to talk about J.J. Barea. So Barea started Friday night against the Rockets. As I'm recording this video, he's having a pretty big game. I think towards the end of the fourth quarter, he's got already has 30 or 35 DK points. Barea is an incredibly productive player when he gets the minutes. Although he's I'm pretty sure the dude's 5'7". He is incredibly short. He's not a good defender or anything. But offensively, he has a pretty good offensive game. He can score. He can get assists as well. We can take a look at his numbers with Luka off the floor. They've actually been they're pretty good when you take Luka off the floor. It's a small sample size, only 100 minutes, but Barea has a 29% usage rate with Luka off the floor, averaging 1.37 fantasy points per minute with nearly a 40% assist percentage. Like, those are elite numbers for a guy that's cheap. If he starts again, especially in a matchup against the Hawks, I think JJ Barea is one of the top value plays. Even though he got priced up to $4,600 on DraftKings, I still think he's a great option. I'm assuming he starts and plays probably about 25 to 30 minutes, which is what he got Friday night. He's very cheap over on Yahoo as well. Still minimum salary. He's also shooting guard, which is very appealing. Shooting guard, a much weaker position than point guard today. So definitely like Barea as on both sides as one of the top values. He's having a big game Friday night. I think if he starts again, I think he can put up another big game. And with Luka off the floor, he's going to get a lot of usage. He does have a very high assist percentage with Luka off the floor. Easy potential for a double-double. But then in terms of punt plays at point guard, there are some guys I want to talk about down here. We do have some value down here. So with Elfrid Payton suspended today, either Frank Ntilikina or Dennis Smith Jr., I'm assuming, starts at point guard. Given that Dennis Smith Jr. has been getting the most minutes between the two guys, I'm assuming it's him that winds up starting. And if he does start at 3,100, he's going to be really hard to avoid today. I mean, he's not a guy you ever feel great about because his minutes are always they're so inconsistent. But it's not like we've been rostering Dennis Smith Jr. recently. The only reason we're rostering him today is because he should be looking at more minutes, given that the Knicks will be without their starting point guard. So I'm assuming DSJ starts, and if that's the case, I'd have to assume he plays at least like mid-20s in minutes, if not more. He's 3,100. He's been a very productive player when given the minutes, especially for fantasy. I mean, he's been a fantasy point-per-minute player, 24 DK points in 13 minutes against the Hawks, 17 DK points in 15 minutes. Like, he only needs 20 minutes to pay off the salary, and given that Elfrid Payton is suspended today, it should be pretty easy for DSJ to get those minutes. So I like him as one of the top values today. DraftKings did not adjust his price. He's still near minimum salary. On Yahoo, he's minimum salary over there as well. He looks like one of the better value plays. Assuming he starts, if Frank Ntilikina winds up starting, you could pivot to Ntilikina, but honestly, I still like Dennis Smith Jr. even if he comes off the bench. He's just a much more productive fantasy player than Ntilikina is. But let's go ahead and take a look at shooting guard now. We'll move over to this position. I do like Bradley Beal quite a bit at the top here. I like this spot a lot for him against Brooklyn. Brooklyn really hasn't been that good of a defensive team this season, especially against guards. And Bradley Beal, he's just playing at such an elite level right now. Last 5 games, over 50 DraftKings points in 5 straight games. He's back to getting huge minutes, playing 36 to 38 minutes in close games. I think this game can stay competitive. I don't know if we have a line yet on this game. Take a look. Yeah, Washington's favored by 1 with a 239 total. Right now, this game does have the highest total on the slate. So it's going to be a game we want to get some exposure to. I think Bradley Beal, he'd probably be behind Trey Young and behind Kyrie Irving for me, but he would definitely be like third in terms of stud plays today. He looks like a great option. On Yahoo, he's at shooting guard. You do have Barea as a really good shooting guard value, but you could still pay up for Bradley Beal as well. At $42, he's definitely my favorite shooting guard to pay up for on Yahoo. Then you have DeMar DeRozan at $8,700. I do like DeRozan quite a bit today, assuming LaMarcus Aldridge remains out. Especially on Yahoo. Over here, it's kind of similar to like FanDuel. FanDuel, you only have like guys are eligible at one position, whereas DraftKings, you'll have like guys like Beal. You can play a shooting guard, small forward. DeRozan, shooting guard, small forward. Russell, point guard, shooting guard. Yahoo, guys are just one position. So DeRozan, if you want to play him, you can only play him as small forward or util. You have to play at least one small forward on Yahoo, and just glancing through the position, it really doesn't look that good. I mean, Gordon Hayward at $30, especially if Kemba were to be out, I could see going to him. With Elfrid Payton out, you could maybe look to like Marcus Morris. Troy Brown's been getting good run off the bench, so maybe he could be a play. But like the small forward position is really bad. I don't see any great value. I think DFS is down here at minimum salary, so if you wanted to play him, especially while Luka remains out, he could be a play. Ryan Brokoff actually wound up starting Friday, so I guess he could be a guy you look to. So the position isn't as bad as I thought, but if LaMarcus Aldridge is out, I'm going to try and prioritize getting up to DeMar DeRozan at small forward on Yahoo. He's $40. He's expensive, but the last 2 games with LMA out, the production's been there. The minutes have been there, 35, 37 minutes, 49, 50 fantasy points. DeRozan does see a big bump in usage, a big bump in his fantasy production with Aldridge off the floor, and this is a great spot against one of the worst defensive teams in the Hornets. So DeRozan definitely stands out, especially if LMA remains out today. But other shooting guards, I think Donovan Mitchell at 7K, talked about him earlier. He really stands out today as a very strong option at that salary. If Kemba's out, Marcus Smart you could play here at 6,300. Even with Luka out at 5,900, I don't really want to go to Tim Hardaway at that salary. I do like Hardaway quite a bit though over on Yahoo. I didn't mean to type in Brunson. Had a little bit of a brain fart there. I do like Hardaway quite a bit on Yahoo. He's $15. I liked him a lot Friday night. I'll be going right back to him on Saturday, I think, at that salary. Looks like a very solid value. Like I said, you also have JJ Barea, who's shooting guard eligible, but if you wanted to, you can play both guys together. I don't have a problem with that at all. Hardaway, I have more interest in on Yahoo today. But other shooting guards that we could look to, Bogdanovich has been getting pretty good run recently. The minutes have been there in the starting lineup. Only played 25 minutes last game, but that was a blowout. The game against OKC was a blowout. This game against Minnesota was close, and you got 34 minutes from Bogdanovich. This game against the Lakers could obviously be a blowout, but if he plays like close to 30 minutes, if not more, I mean, he can definitely produce 30-plus DK points. For what it's worth, he put up 33 DK points in 36 minutes earlier this season against the Lakers. With Bogdanovich in the starting lineup, still 5,200 on Draftkings. He's definitely in play if you want to go to him. Like I said, you could take a shot on DeLon Wright coming off the bench. I think he really stands out on Yahoo if you want to go to him there. He's only $11. I liked him a lot on Friday night on Yahoo. I did have a good amount of exposure to him. I'd be fine going right back to him today at that salary as a value. But for punt plays, for cheap options, not really much stands out here in terms of like really cheap plays, punt plays. Dennis Smith Jr. I don't think is shooting guard eligible. Now, he's only point guard, but you can play Barea at shooting guard if you want to go there. Let's go ahead and move on to small forward, though. We'll talk about this position now. So at the top, you do have LeBron, who I touched on. Probably be like my fourth favorite stud today behind like Trey Young, Beal, Kyrie, like those guys I like more. DeRozan you can play here, especially if LMA's out. I do have a lot of interest in him. These Boston guys I'm going to have quite a bit of interest in today, especially if Kemba Walker's out. But I think even if Kemba plays, a guy like Jason Tatum at only 7,100 really stands out on DraftKings. I mean, this is just a really cheap price tag for Jason Tatum. I know the matchup isn't great against Philly, but he's had some decent success against Philly this season. I know he had like one big game against them, and then he had like a dud game against them. Through 3 games, he's averaged 36 DraftKings points against the Sixers. He was limited in his first game back from injury, played 24 minutes, but I'd assume in a primetime game like this one against Philly, like Tatum's going to be a full go here. They really didn't need him in that game against the Warriors. They won that game by 15 points. This is a game that should be close, should be competitive. I'd expect Tatum gets back to his full minutes, and if that's the case, at 30 or at 7,100 on DK, definitely have interest in Jason Tatum. And if Kemba Walker were to be out today, I would be even more interested in Tatum. Guys like Hayward, Brown would also become really good options as well. But if I can only choose one of those guys from the Celtics, whether it's Hayward, Brown, Tatum, factoring in how their pricing is, I think Tatum stands out the most at 7,100. I really like him at his DraftKings salary. Bogdanovich you can play here. I talked about him. Evan Fournier is questionable today, so I'm not sure who really is going to benefit here. Maybe a guy like Terrence Ross you could look to if he were to be out, but Terrence Ross, I don't think he's that cheap. I mean, he's 4,800. I doubt I really go there even if Fournier's out. Probably not a guy I look to, just feel like there's better value. Maybe a guy like Aaron Gordon picks up more usage with potentially him out, so I could see going to him. You have Draymond Green, you can play a small forward. I talked about him. I think he's interesting today. Bogdanovich as well. Troy Brown should continue to get pretty big minutes off the bench with Jordan McRae out, so he's a fine option as well. For value, though, if we're looking for cheap plays, we saw Rudy Gay have a pretty big game. Last game, 24 DK points in 22 minutes. The minutes are going to be hard to predict, but the matchup is really good against the Hornets. If LaMarcus Aldridge remains out, I think it's possible Rudy Gay gets about mid-20s in minutes again. He's been a very productive player with Aldridge off the floor. They did actually play Rudy Gay at the 5 last game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do that today. If Aldridge is out, obviously, so he could be an option at 4,700. DFS, I like him a lot on Yahoo where he's still minimum salary. I think he's a fine option there. But I think that's it for small forward plays. I think we covered everything here. So let's go ahead and talk about some power forward options now. Looking at power forward at the top here, Domantas Sabonis, most expensive option at 9,500. I liked Sabonis a lot on the last slate. Kind of off of him today at this salary. The matchup's really good against the Knicks, but the Pacers are starting to get healthy. Miles Turner's back for this game. Victor Oladipo's playing minutes now, and he's on the team and getting minutes. Like, he's healthy now. So I just don't know if I want to go to Sabonis at this salary. He's still really expensive. Like, you need him to drop 50 plus DraftKings points to be a good play. I just don't know if he has that upside in him when he's playing alongside Turner, Brogdon. All these guys are healthy, especially at that. Like, I'll just rather play Kyrie for cheaper. I'd try and find salary to get up to Trey Young. I'm a big Sabonis fan, but I don't think today's going to be a slate where I look to him. Honestly, I'd rather play AD for a little bit less, but don't think I'm really going to be prioritizing any of these expensive power forwards. And one of the reasons I don't like any of the expensive power forwards is because Kristaps Porzingis still really stands out today. $7,200 on DraftKings, very affordable. Over on Yahoo, he's $29. I was very high on him Friday night. He's having a big game as well. He's getting the minutes as well. At the end of the third quarter, he had already played like 29 minutes. Now, this is a back-to-back. Porzingis could be rested here. Porzingis could be limited. Assuming he's a full go, though, and is not limited and is able to play his full minutes, he looks like one of the best plays on the slate again. I was all over him Friday night. I know some people were worried about the minutes. I was willing to take the risk. I thought there was just so much upside for Porzingis if he got the minutes, and on Friday night he did get the minutes. So I like going back to him. I mean, with Luka off the floor, you look at his numbers. The dude's just been a monster with Luka off the floor, averaging nearly 1.4 fantasy points per minute, nearly 29% usage rate. His rebound percentage goes up with Luka off the floor. Can get you a big double-double here, especially in a matchup against the Hawks. Like, Porzingis has 50-point upside today. If he plays 30-plus minutes again, like, he's a guy that I'm going to want to just be all over, have a ton of exposure to. Looks like one of the top plays again, going right back to him on Saturday night's slate. Other power forwards, I guess you could have like tournament pivots, especially if Porzingis winds up being really chalky. Like, you could maybe pivot to Kevin Love, but honestly, I'd just be eating the Porzingis chalk and try and differentiate elsewhere. I think if LaMarcus Aldridge plays, like, this is a smash spot for him against the Hornets. He would definitely be on my radar if he does play today. Al Horford, he's expected to play. Revenge game against the Celtics for what that's worth, but I don't really want to go there. Nemanja Bjelica's price tag's coming down a lot. He's been really struggling lately, though, and it's not the best matchup, so even with the price coming down, I don't have that much interest in him. Thomas Bryant looks really good, $5,600 on DraftKings. Even though he came off the bench last game against the Hornets, he was still incredibly productive. Only played 23 minutes, but had 33 DraftKings points. Like, Bryant is an incredibly productive player. He can average over a fantasy point per minute. It was very surprising they didn't start him whatever day that was. I think that was Wednesday. It was surprising he didn't get the start Wednesday. If he does start at center today, I mean, at 5,600 with power forward and center eligibility on DraftKings, I really like Thomas Bryant in this spot. I mean, we know how good this matchup is. Brooklyn been a team we've attacked with bigs all season, specifically centers, allowing like the third or fourth most fantasy points to centers this season. If Bryant comes off the bench, I'd be a little hesitant, but I still played him on the last slate with him coming off the bench, and it worked out. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, or I wouldn't mind going back to him again, even if he does come off the bench. But if he winds up starting, would definitely be a much better option to go to. But other power forwards, in terms of value plays, Rui, I think Rui has a chance to return today. Yeah, he's actually going to play. Hachimura will be kept around 15 to 20 minutes if he's clear to play, so I guess we're still waiting on that. But if Rui's back, that obviously I didn't think about that, but that will hurt Thomas Bryant a little bit. But they could still start Rui at the 4 and Thomas Bryant at the 5, which really wouldn't matter that much. But if Rui winds up getting the start at center, then yeah, I'd be a little bit hesitant on Thomas Bryant. But if Bryant can start alongside Rui, which, I mean, that's what they should be doing, then he would still be a good option. PJ Washington is questionable. I think that's an injury worth monitoring. If he were to sit, we saw, I think it was earlier this season when Washington was out, they started Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller alongside each other. I don't think they do that today, especially because Bismack hasn't really been playing. But a guy like Marvin Williams could potentially come an option. 3,400 on DraftKings. I mean, he's been getting about 16 to 18 minutes off the bench. If Washington were to wind up out, I have to assume that Marvin Williams starts and probably gets close to 30 minutes. And at 3,400, he would be another very strong value play. So definitely keep an eye on the Hornets' statuses today. The Hornets guys, specifically PJ Washington. If he winds up out, really do like Marvin Williams as a value. Really cheap on both sides. I'm pretty sure he's minimum salary over on Yahoo. But let's go ahead and talk about center real quick just before we end the video. Break down this position. So at the top, you got Joel Embiid as the most expensive option, 9,600 against the Celtics. Normally the Celtics, not a team I like to attack, but this is definitely a great spot. The Celtics are a team you can attack with bigs. That's definitely where they struggle in terms of like their defense. And we've seen that Embiid has had success in this matchup. He's only averaged 29 minutes against the Celtics, like 29 minutes per game, but he still put up 55 DraftKings points per game, an average of 55 DK points. He got 34 minutes last game against the Hawks, was not limited at all. I expect he plays similar minutes today. At 9,600, like that's still too cheap for Joel Embiid. There should be a lot of value today. It's pretty close where he would rank for me in terms of studs. I think right now I'd have Trey Young first, Kyrie second. It'd be close between Beal or Embiid on who I prefer as my third stud option. Right now, well, given all the value we have at like shooting guard and small forward, I'd probably put Beal fourth and then Embiid third, because I think center is a position like I don't see any like standout options. I mean, you can play Porzingis at center, you can play like Thomas Bryant, but I think right now I'd have Embiid slightly ahead of Bradley Beal. But like those are my 4 favorite studs today: Trey Young, Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Joel Embiid. Those are the guys I like most. I think Embiid should have a lot of success against Boston without Al Horford, with like Daniel Tice, Enes Kanter out there. I know Kanter has a chance to return today, but obviously Kanter's not going to slow down Embiid. Daniel Tice not going to slow down Embiid either. So he is my favorite center to pay up for today. I do prefer him over guys like Sabonis, Davis, Vucevic, Gobert. I don't really see myself going to any of these guys like Vuce, Gobert, Randall, Adebayo, like Whiteside. None of these guys really stand out at center today. I think it's either pay up for Embiid or play a guy like Porzingis, or if Aldridge plays, you could go to him. It's a great spot for Jared Allen, but with DeAndre Jordan healthy, like Jared Allen just doesn't get the minutes that I want him to get, so really hard to consider him a great play even in a really good matchup. Thomas Bryant, especially if he starts, I would like a ton. Jakob Poeltl burned me on the last slate, but if LaMarcus Aldridge remains out, I'll go right back to Jakob Poeltl in this matchup. Smash spot against the Hornets, who have been a terrible defensive team this season, allowing, I believe, like the 3rd most fantasy points to centers. They've also been a terrible rebounding team, so really good spot for Poeltl. In terms of value plays, though, at center, Cody Zeller got some pretty good run last game. Played 24 minutes, so not as good as I thought, but did have 29 DraftKings points. He was pretty productive. With P.J. Washington potentially out, that could open up more minutes in the front court. I think that would solidify Zeller's minutes, so he could be a guy you look to at 5,100. Tristan Thompson's price has plummeted on DraftKings. I mean, he's down to 5K. His minutes, though, have been way down. The production's not been great either. Against the Warriors, like Thompson should have success here, but the minutes are just so hard to predict. Hard to consider him like a must play at that salary, or even like a great option. I think that's probably it for center plays today. In terms of value, I don't think there's any like punt values that I really like. At least just looking at this like the night before, things could change. I know Damian Jones started last game, actually got 26 minutes, so that was kind of surprising. If Damian Jones starts again and can play close to 30 minutes, I guess he could be a center value. I don't love him though. But yeah, that's probably it for me at center in terms of value plays. I think we pretty much covered everything, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you did enjoy, as always, guys, I appreciate you watching. Make sure you drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. Also, if you would like, you can follow me on Twitter, link down below, at DFS by Noah. Also, link down below is my Patreon. It is the beginning of a new month, so those are usually the best times to sign up for the Patreon. If you want to get access to all of my exclusive NBA content, my articles, my updated core plays, get in our Discord chat, you can get all that over on Patreon. So check all that out. Link down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Good luck tonight. We'll see you in the next video. Peace, guys.